Hey folks, it is September the 21st, and today we're going to talk more about America's role in not only becoming a world power, but also some of the changes that are going on in America. If I remember, we left off at the end of the presidency of Teddy Roosevelt, and so now we're going to talk about how Taft is going to become president and what happens there. Now, is this the slide we ended off on last time where we talked about the United Mine Workers coal strike?
Yes.
All right.
Wait, hold up.
I'm holding up.
We talked about,
We talked about this one.
Taft. We were after Taft.
It was after Roosevelt.
Taft already won the election.
They were like friends.
They were.
Taft was known for his dollar diplomacy in which the U.S. businesses and
That's
financial
great. Yeah, and I think Mr. Brandt walked in and he said
Yeah.
some
And
things
then
about.
Roosevelt was like,
Yeah, I want to be president again.
That's absolutely correct. Yep.
I have blue.
how did those glasses stay on Roosevelt's face?
They're probably tight, like at the nose clamp. That's my guess. All right, so yeah, you're right. He did things differently than Roosevelt, but he still had the same outcome as Roosevelt in a lot of ways. So, moving right along, yeah, we are going to see a third party emerge, and that is the Bull Moose Party, which is just beautimous.
Unanimous?
Beautimous. I don't know where I got that, but I got it. All right, so Taft and Roosevelt. Roosevelt began to become dissatisfied with Taft's performance in the White House and believed he was undoing much of the reforms that he fought for as a president. Teddy Roosevelt was willing to bend the rules in order to what he saw as a greater good outcome for the country, right? Taft was very legalistic. He was a very well-educated lawyer, Ivy League guy, and he was very by the book on everything. His dream was not ever to become president, but to become a Supreme Court justice. So he didn't even want the job. He only did it because Roosevelt told him to. However, Roosevelt started to insult Taft while he was in office and criticize him. Not like personally insult, but like to criticize him. And Taft got a little irked about that. So by the 1912 election, Roosevelt's popularity had declined, however. He used to be super popular. But since he was out of the limelight for a while, he was not able to take the Republican Party's nomination from Taft. And so, that's when you have the parties pick who's going to be their candidate to run. Well, normally a party selects the president who's being reelected. Like, for example, like currently, like Trump is seeking re-election, so the Republicans almost unanimously chose Trump.
I was about to say, can they pick someone else after one president only serves one term?
They absolutely can.
So why
Usually
do
it's
they?
because the president doesn't want to run for a re-election for one reason or another. So, and like Obama, when he was going for re-election, he almost unanimously got his party's nomination to be the Democrat presidential candidate. So Roosevelt ran his own party since he didn't get the Republican nomination, and he called it the Progressive Party, otherwise known as the Bull Moose Party. So it's supposed to be as tough as a bull moose, which I guess is pretty tough. We don't have moose around here, but it's my understanding they're like.
For the longest time, I didn't know how big moose were. And I
So-
saw one picture, and I started crying because I was so scared.
Very big. They're very big. I've been in parts of the world where there are, like up north, where there are moose, but I've
I
never
want to
seen.
go to Canada and see one.
It'd be nice. By splitting the Republican Party, the Republicans went from a sure victory to humiliating defeat. We're going to see this again in history. Like in the 90s, you have George Bush Sr. He was supposed to be a shoo-in and basically get a guaranteed second presidency.
Who?
The first Bush.
Oh,
But he had a third-party candidate come up called Ross Perot. Ross Perot appealed to a lot of Republicans. And so because there was three people on the ticket, the Republican Party split. And so that's how you had the first presidency of Bill Clinton. So we've seen that this kind of thing has happened 4. That's how Lincoln became president. The Republican Party was a brand new thing, and the Democrats split apart over North and South and slavery issues. And so Lincoln was able to squeeze on in. So it happens sometimes. And then you get a president you weren't expecting.
Do we have a third party?
Oh, yeah, we do. But they're kind of squeezed out right now. Like the bigger ones are like the Libertarians and the Green Party. And there's some other small.
I used to think I was libertarian, but like.
Well, the thing is about third parties like libertarians is that you'll find libertarian principles in both parties, like
Yeah.
individual rights and stuff like
They're
that.
kind of more like they don't want to admit it, but they're like right in between of.
They can be. You'll find that and there's a lot of people who call themselves libertarians that they don't quite have libertarian ideology, so they're not always know what they're talking about. But like all parties have big swaths of people that they pull into themselves. You have moderate Republicans, and you'll have more nationalist-minded Republicans, and you'll have more libertarian-minded Republicans, and you'll have Democrats too who are more on the progressive side, and you'll have some that are more down the middle, like the old school ones and stuff. You used to have Southern Democrats, which don't really exist too much anymore because Southern Democrats were also aligned with maintaining the old Southern standards of race relations and stuff like that. So,
Well, that kind of sucks.
oh yeah, they've been around forever. Not so much anymore. So the Democrat Party was then able to have its candidate, Woodrow Wilson, elected as the 28th president. So the Republican votes are split. Woodrow Wilson, who we'll talk about in a minute, is going to become the first Democrat president in quite some time, though he was not a Southerner himself. He's going to be the first president with a PhD. Though he held to progressive ideas, he would change the direction of the country. So he's also what we consider a progressive president. But he's more of a ideological progressive, as in he has a lot. Woodrow Wilson is going to be the first president to start taking like progressivism is like a big thing in Europe that's going to become an American thing because middle class people tend to adopt European ideas back then, somewhat now too, in certain political movements. But Woodrow Wilson is going to take the academic ideas of what we call like Hegelian philosophy and start applying it to American politics. So. When I say Hegelian, Hegel was the teacher of people like Karl Marx and stuff like that. So,
Marxism.
well, no, Hegelianism isn't necessarily Marxism, but Hegelianism is going to lead to the rise of National Socialism and Marxism later. So,
Yeah.
it's what a lot of modern politics are based on.
And socialism. And communism.
Modern socialism, yeah. Before Hegel, socialism was actually kind of bound on the old idea of Christian communities, kind of like having people almost live like, not Quakers, but like Amish or even like monks in monasteries, kind of, but maybe not as austere. So, but yeah, after Hegel, it's going to become a little more atheistic.
I would adopt communism any day.
I just think it's funny that some people actually want communism, but they complained about when we're out of toilet paper and out of like disinfectants, and we couldn't leave our houses, and your job got shut down, and only certain people were allowed to work.
I think it's a disconnect in that people feel like it's camps now, where you're in one camp or the other and you have to defend your team. But also, there's only so many ideas that you can hear and adapt within a day or a lifetime. And so once you hear so many ideas from one side, you basically don't have enough mental room for the other. And I'm not saying it's because people can't learn, but if you're learning your ideas from a classroom, well, you only have a history class, maybe like 45 minutes a day on average, if you're going through school and college. Or, I don't know, and the same goes for, there's some things that are kind of clicky and kind of like in right now. And I think a lot of people think that they want to be part of something that they feel is like part of change. And they want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. So, and that's one of those things that people get into because they feel like it's bigger than themselves. But that's even then, I'm oversimplifying a lot, like a whole lot. Hey, y'all ready for the next one, kids?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, my second period class, I actually had somebody like join in the class and watch it who wasn't a student. Kind of creeped me out at first.
Wait,
Um,
what?
What?
Oh, well, it's on YouTube. I just turn off the comments and all that. That's why I don't show your faces on this because I don't want like creeps looking at you.
Wait, that's crazy. Like some normal person joined in on the
And they were like, I
class.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, they said something like that.
Oh, wait,
Oh,
really?
that's a comment?
Yeah, because you got like the chat comments, right? Like
What
I
do you
turned
say?
off the video comments, but I can still see the chat
Oh,
comments.
wait,
What did he say?
He said he liked the class and he's making some comments about trying to like have a conversation with me during I was lecturing, but I didn't pay attention. So, because I'm not there for whoever that is. All right. So Woodrow Wilson, and there he is right there. That's a picture in case you didn't know what he looked like.
That's funny.
So yeah, he's a very well educated man. I think he's gonna be like I forgot which university.
That's our president?
He was. He's going to be the president of
PhD.
Harvard? I think for a while. He has a PhD in history. He's going to be one of the first guys who's going to come up with a concept we still have today in the courts called like I forgot the real word for it, the technical word, but he came up with the idea of a living document for the Constitution, to where the meaning of the constitutional law can change according to the people who interpret it. That means you make it apply towards your own times, not towards the way it's written. So he's going to be kind of like the godfather for that. And he's also going to be the president for World War II. Yep.
Sorry. Was he like was he the person that allowed like
I was
us to not change the Constitution, but like amendments?
Well, I mean, he's going to be president during some amendments, like when women got the right to vote and stuff. But yeah, things aren't going to get. Things aren't. Things aren't going to get like radical or anything like that. But we are going to see an expansion of the federal government. But that's not going to be so much of him as it's going to be the First World War. And every time we have a big war, things change. It usually gets bigger. All right. So prior to his election to the 28th presidency, 1913-1921, Wilson served as the president of Princeton University, not Harvard.
Oh.
And he was governor of New Jersey. He was also the first president to be elected while earning a PhD. He is also the first Democratic president since Grover Cleveland, so it's been a while. As a PhD student, Wilson developed the idea of living document constitution. That is the idea of constitutional law may be interpreted in new ways as times change. How it is interpreted, not necessarily how it was intended. Now, somebody who, what was it? Literalist? Is that no? I forgot the name for the other side of the coin, where you interpret it the way it was intended, and the way it was written. I forgot what was it.
Wow,
It's
governor
not-
of New Jersey.
Yeah. So he's a Northern Democrat. So he's able to pull in the Southern vote because they tended to all vote Democrat pretty much. And he was able to pull in a lot of Northern Democrats as well because he was from the North. During his presidency, he will face issues regarding civil rights, women's rights, the Mexican Revolution, and World War I. And so by like the Mexican Revolution, he's going to have a lot of problems out west with bandits and revolutionaries such as Pancho Villa. So,
Pancho Villa.
of course, World War I is going to be a big issue.
World War One, but also
Mhm.
Pancho Villa. Who did the study of Pancho Villa? I think it was Josue, right? Back in 7th grade, they did a project where they went to the gym and like played the different people, and he did Pancho Villa. Why do I remember that?
I don't know, but I don't remember either. 7th grade?
Maybe it was.
I remember the science fair when y'all were in 7th grade,
Oh, yeah.
upstairs
I
with all
remember
the.
somebody brought like a guitar or something. I think that was you.
I didn't play guitar back then.
Yeah, all I remember is the science one. I remember our like 5th grade and 4th grade, I think, had a history thing.
I brought a windmill.
I hated science.
I didn't like, I enjoy science, but I didn't like doing the science. Yeah.
Are y'all ready for the next one?
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
I'm sleepy.
Yeah, everybody's been quiet and sleepy today in my classes. But don't worry, it's going to rain a lot more tomorrow, they're saying.
Well,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
had spent the whole day on the lake yesterday,
All right.
and so I'm already tired of that.
Well,
And I had a volleyball game every day last week and a tournament on Saturday.
nice. That's what you wanted, right?
I'm gonna miss like 3 days of school next month because of volleyball.
Can you spell unnecessary for me?
UN.
I was kidding.
You just spelled out. U-D-O.
YOUDOITYOURSELF.
I'm not sure if it's going to affect this class, but Wednesday I'm going to have a sub because I have to give an SAT to the seniors.
It does affect us.
I won't last
But-
that long.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to last that long. So I'm sure it'll be
Honestly,
done by
last year
noon.
When I took it last year
Mhm.
with the same people that are taking it this year, except like other people. But it only took us like 2 hours.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 4 hours max, but we're going to start at 8. So I think they'll be done with me unless they've got some other paperwork they want me to do. But yeah, I'll kick the sub out if I'm done, which is good for them because it's less things they have to do.
When people would sub at TCA or at ETCA,
Mhm.
they would tell us that they made a penny an hour, so we would feel bad for them.
Sounds like volunteerism.
Volunteerism.
What? I didn't say that.
I said that.
Y'all ready?
I'm on regarding civil rights.
Okay, I'm not trying to rush y'all. Remember, y'all had to write all that. Just remember, hey, what's
I accidentally wrote the same thing like twice.
sounds like you're writing without paying attention to what it is.
Yes,
Yep.
That's why you have to go with those.
because I can't do like three things at once.
I'm so cold, my hands hurt.
I'm sorry, I feel kind of warm.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cold.
That's just a nervous habit.
I think my aunt was alive for Woodrow Wilson.
What?
How old is your aunt?
Maybe
Gosh, because, yeah, he I don't think he lived past 21, 22.
Rick,
So is she
How did he
over
die?
100?
how did he die?
I think he had strokes. He stroked out pretty hard when he was president.
It just makes me think of golf.
what?
In fact, at the end of his presidency, said he could barely function. So his wife wound up doing a lot of the presidential duties with only a few people who knew what was going on.
It just reminds me of that, I think it was Alexander Hamilton died because the guy was his name was
No.
who was that guy?
That wasn't Alexander Hamilton.
No.
Alexander Hamilton died in a duel.
Yeah.
guess
Alexander
Aaron
Hamilton
Burr.
died in a duel with Aaron
Yeah, you're
Burr.
thinking about and he didn't die. You're thinking about a senator or congressman who was anti-slavery, and he was calling out a slave-owning congressperson or
When you beat him
congressman.
with a stick?
Yeah, and he was like, "Hey, well, he accused the guy's uncle of raping his slaves." And so the guy got mad about it. It's like, you take it back, and like
And beat him up.
he didn't take it back. So the guy took a cane, like a big metal knob on it, kept whacking him in the head,
Ah!
and he wound up being really messed up for a long time. He's actually going to come back into office later and write a lot of legislation that has to do with like anti-slavery laws and stuff like that after the Civil War. So yeah, he's going to go to Europe. He had to go to like these different spas where, because they didn't have good medicine back then, so you just kind of went to these places that were kind of like hippie healing centers, and that was the best you could hope for. You know, you're hoping bath salts would somehow help you.
Please, bath salts in the name of bath salts.
I mean, you know, Epsom salt's a great thing and all, but it's not going to heal your brain whenever it's been caved in. All right, so moving on. Hey, there he is. He's a happy fella there. Pre-stroke Woodrow Wilson.
How old is he then?
I'm old. I don't know.
I thought you said he only lived to be
Wow,
21.
how people-
No, I died in 1921.
Oh,
It's
Okay.
21 or 23.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I was like,
Yeah.
dang, what kind of?
So yeah, he was. Yeah,
Golly.
he's not on a whole bunch of nasty. All right. So though Wilson was a Democrat, unlike Roosevelt or Taft, he was also strongly influenced by political progressive movement. So like I told you, these things about helping out with reforming the government to be more merit-based, having social policies to help out people and things like that was a big thing. Regarding his domestic policy, he would cut tariffs and pass the first graduated income tax. So, thank you, income taxes. He would also see to the passing of the Federal Reserve Act, which helped control the nation's money supply and interest rates for loans. So remember, that was a big progressive thing. They wanted to cut tariffs. This made the Democrat Party happy because a lot of them were agriculturalists from the South. And they're going to pass graduate income tax. This made the progressives happy because they wanted more social programs funded by taxes. So, hooray. He would also see that. So the Federal Reserve. So with this, they're hoping to regulate not just banks, but also the interest rates for which loans are given out, but also how the money supply is controlled. So like the value of money. So this was seen as a problem often. He also passed a law which allowed for low interest rates for farmers. Yay, once again, helping out farmers, which is his political base. And the Child Labor Act, which limited the number of hours that children could work. So like we said, that was a big problem that the progressives wanted to target, was trying to stop child labor. Children should be playing and going to school and not being mangled up by machinery and doused with chemicals. So
What are you talking about?
manufacturing. The 19th Amendment was passed during his presidency. He spent most of his presidency in opposition to women's suffrage. So yeah, he wasn't actually too big on women voting. There were times where he would deny delegates for women's suffrage to come to the White House to visit with him. He didn't think it was their place. He thought it was a thing that would actually corrupt women. He thought politics was a nasty business, and if the women's got involved, they wouldn't be delicate, wonderful creatures anymore. The amendment will come into law after Wilson suffered from a debilitating series of strokes. So even though he didn't like it after he had some strokes, which totally cut down on his function, the amendment will pass anyways. And amendments can pass without presidential approval. So
Hold on, I got all of that down before you were done talking.
okay. But yeah, as we see, like president after president is doing the same thing. So there's like a theme here. The theme is, No matter who's in charge, we want this to happen. And this is, it's mostly kind of like a middle class thing that people are wanting. But he's also doing some things that the Democrat population in the South and the populists, remember that's those farmers who they tried to make their own political party, but they weren't able to do that much. They got some seats in Congress filled, but just a handful. But these third party movements have big influences on the big major parties. And you could say that today. Like under Bush, you had like the Tea Party movement. And so that kind of pushed the Republican Party further into conservatism.
The Tea Party?
Yeah, the Tea Party.
What did they do?
It was like a movement where they were calling for smaller government and stuff like that. And protection of the Bill of Rights, lowering taxes and stuff like that.
Wait, what year was that?
That was during the Bush years. So like they're like 2000s. I think it started like 2006 maybe to like 2008.
Wow, that's old.
Right, because I remember my mom used to listen to Rush Limbaugh like every morning, and I would listen to it too.
So he was big into that, yeah.
I would listen to that all the time. And I was like, Mom, what are they talking about? Where's the Tea Party?
Mhm.
Like, I actually did not know it.
Oh, like
I was,
drinking tea, yeah.
3, 5 years old, thinking
Bro,
that,
you
that
just wanted
the
to have
president
a
was
tea
going to have a
party.
tea party.
I mean, I'm
Rush
maybe,
Limbaugh.
maybe.
They're like,
Did you
"Bro,
ever
this
read
boy's
his
having a
book?
Tea Party without me."
He's got a lot of books, but no,
Well,
I've
like-
never read Rush. Limbaugh's before my generation.
We
Like,
should require us to read the book about him. He's like this history teacher, but he's like not really the history teacher. And he takes this kid out of the class
Mhm.
and he takes him on his horse that time travels and
That's
he
true,
takes
yeah.
him through history.
that sounds like,
communism.
that sounds like something for younger kids.
It's called.
It's actually really good.
Yeah.
My sister read it.
I've seen his books. I used to show you Rush Limbaugh videos.
Yeah.
That sounds like him. Yeah,
I've met him.
Mr.
He-
Hefner was great.
He loved bringing up politics like in staff meetings. I was like, what? That's the-
Wait, you've met Rush Limbaugh?
No, the teacher they're talking about.
Oh,
But no, I've never met Rush Limbaugh.
I have.
You met the
It's pretty
teacher we're
weird.
talking about? That's crazy, Mr. White.
He almost came back this year.
He's not here this year?
You know, he's not here
Yeah,
this
he
year.
wasn't here last
What's
year.
his name?
Mr. Hefner. He's teaching in Jacksonville still, I think.
That's good.
He lives in Jacksonville. His family's there right now.
That makes sense. Why he's teaching nowadays.
Yeah.
I guess he has to leave us.
I actually have a book here that his father-in-law wrote. He gave it to me.
White Wolf.
White.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I would like to get y'all to read some
Little Women.
stuff.
I never read that
Rush
one myself,
Limbaugh.
though. I don't think I
Not Rush Limbaugh.
No.
I don't have a problem if you read it, but it's
We
not
read
what
the
I
Pearl
would
over the
pick.
summer
It's
that
just really-
I moved here.
It's actually a really good story. I had to read it when I was a kid.
So if I want to have you read, yeah, I might as well have you read Clem Beck and Mark Levin and all those others.
Honestly, they're not that bad.
I didn't say they're bad, but I'm just saying they're they're like popular writers. Anyways,
We don't like
that's not that. I just- I don't know.
Mhm.
I know what I would like to get y'all read, but the books are too big. I don't want to have y'all read like a 900-page book.
No, I
I'll get
will not
mad at
read
me.
it, I promise you. If it's not like a would you survive book, I'm not reading.
Would you survive dying?
Mr. White, remember when you made us write those papers in ninth grade?
Which ones?
The semester class, the really long one that we spent the whole class period for a semester.
Oh yeah. We had the historical research papers. Yeah, I love that class.
Yeah, I did that.
I did too.
I
Bro,
had-
really long.
I did that, Mr. Whitener. I was a good boy.
I'm gonna have my economics students do something like that eventually.
I did mine on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my seniors do a little something like that, but it's gonna have to be in class because
All their 6th through last year, my English teacher and history teacher would make us write like super long, giant research papers, and it could only be over boring stuff.
Well, I mean, they have their place, and I think it's an important place. But
I mean, I love research papers, but
I just don't think we have time. Like, I could give you the option for one if you want bonus points, but I don't know. I'm gonna have my economics kids, and then in government, they're gonna do something like that, especially over the elections,
yeah, I'll say why you should never vote for Biden.
because we
Reason
might.
one, because he's Joe Biden.
We might spend time in this class if they ever have debates. We might go over the debates a bit. The debates. I love the debates.
Presidential debates. I heard they're not having it
Yeah.
because it'll affect Joe Biden's health.
Well, we'll see. And whoever wins, like we can play their
How old is that
Joe Biden is like 75 and Trump is like 76, right?
What?
I think so.
How old is Trump?
Ha!
guy? There's that and small different in
How old is
age.
Donald
One of
Trump?
them looks 90 and one of them looks.
And one of them is
Once you get a
mentally ill,
certain-
Trump
one
is
mentally impaired.
74 years old.
Once you get a certain point, I mean,
Joe Biden
there's
is
big differences.
77.
Then
Joe
president.
Biden is only 3 years older than Donald Trump.
No, I thought he was only 1 year older.
He's only 3.
Wait,
No, Joe
is
Biden's
this-
77.
Is this?
How old is
Donald
Trump?
Trump's
70?
74.
Is that
What does
74?
AD stand for?
74.
that's what he said.
What does that stand for?
Agriculture.
Trump.
I don't know. I don't keep up with their
I
ages.
swear I just
I got it at UT Tyler.
heard that he was 76.
But I mean, yeah, like
Tyler-
I would love to like have the inaugural speeches and all that stuff played. So I think we could use class time for that later.
My turn.
Oh,
I was like, wait.
I remember when I used to hate Donald Trump. My teacher played during the election. He played him being inaugurated, and I cried.
Bernie
Like-
Sanders is 79.
Oh yeah, he was one of the older
My
candidates. I remember that.
Obama's 59.
Are you for real?
Oh my gosh, my dad's almost older than him. That is
Nancy Pelosi is 80.
no Nancy Pelosi. I'm not gonna say that.
Hey, let's go on to the next one.
Donald Trump Jr. is 42.
Is that
I
Zona?
love Donald Trump.
No,
Jr.
That's Pancho Villa.
Pancho
It's
Villa.
Zora.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
killed
No, not Zorro. He was very different from Zorro. Yeah, Pancho Villa is kind of like one of those historical figures who had some good about him and some bad about him, right? So like
Bad.
some good is that he was trying to overthrow a corrupt government, but the bad is that occasionally he would kill whole families. So
Occasionally, just like once a week.
so yeah, there's like these things about it. There's a lot of folks who are like that, especially in revolutions, revolutionary figures in a lot of countries. They got some dark sides to them. All right, so Woodrow Wilson's social issues. Though he was not known for being outwardly racist, and he wasn't, but Woodrow Wilson refused to allow black soldiers to serve with white soldiers, even though there were calls to do this, especially during World War I. He was also the first president to watch a movie in the White House. And I told you about this. It was a Ku Klux Klan movie called The Birth of a Nation.
Oh, he was.
So-
What was going on back then?
Well, you had people, like the Klan was closely tied with the Democrats at this time. And they were just trying to impress
Wait,
him.
the Democrats?
Yeah.
But then they're gonna say the Republicans are the racist ones.
Well,
But even though they started Jim Crow laws, right?
they did.
Boo.
But what they say, and I'm not making the argument either way, what they say is that it switched in the Nixon years. And
Oh,
that-
right, I remember that.
And
But, like,
it's one of those things though that there's like you have to take with a grain of faith. All right, so in the West, Wilson faced issues regarding the Mexican Revolution. So in 1910, Mexico faced a contentious election with Francisco Madero, who challenged Porfirio Diaz. Diaz ruled Mexico as a dictator, right? So he was, and he caused a lot of problems for Mexico regarding like incompetence and stuff like that. He often wasted a lot of Mexican taxpayer money on different kinds of building projects that didn't work out. He executed people who disagreed with him, and they were sick of it. And then when he arrests the guy who looks like he's going to win the presidency, you're going to have a popular uprising. People are like, you can't do that. So,
Wait, can you really not do that?
well, you're not supposed to do that, right? I mean, if it's like, oh no, my opponent's going to win the election, I'm going to throw him in jail. That's like,
I would do that.
that's really brutal. So
And you would be overthrown.
yes, well, as we see here, so you're going to see the uprisings will be led by this guy called Diaz. I mean, not Diaz. I'm sorry. Yeah, Pancho Villa is going to be one of the lead generals for Madero to try to free him and fight the revolution. During this time, Villa led expeditions into America, especially like in California. At times, he would fight U.S. soldiers. At times, they would raid ranches and then get out of there before authorities could show up. Sometimes murder ranchers and stuff like that. So the way he saw it was that California used to be part of Mexico and should have stayed in Mexico, right? And so he saw it as Mexican sovereign territory. Wilson would send the army in after to find and fight him. However, he kept evading U.S. authorities by going back across the border to Mexico. Wilson will, in fact, send soldiers into Mexico to hunt him, but they're never going to be very successful. He's actually going to be assassinated by his own guys. I think Madero is going to have him killed because he's going to get so popular. Madero's going to be like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to try to make him president. So Madero had him murdered.
Oh my gosh.
So, which is pretty, that's revolutions. They eat their own children. French Revolution, Russian Revolution.
Is any kind
They didn't eat their own children.
Not like that. No. I mean, like they eat their own revolutionaries, right?
Yeah,
they kill
They
themselves.
murdered Robespierre.
Yeah. Robespierre. Yeah, the leader of the French
They
Revolution.
were like, oh,
Super radical.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
he did start like beheading everybody.
He did.
He was like,
But he tried to make himself into a god. He literally took churches and busted himself for people to worship and venerate, and people got sick of it. And that's because they were like, well, if we got rid of God, we need something for the peasants to worship. How about us? And so there was a lot of other things too. People were starving in France, and they blamed the Jacobins for it. So they wound up.
But like, is there ever an appropriate assassination?
That's a moral question for
It's
you.
called
Well, like,
assassination.
Not like assassinating like a bad guy. Like you're an FBI agent trained to assassinate Osama
Well,
bin Laden.
I think that's a question you're gonna have to come up with your own answer for. I know my opinion on it because there are like assassination attempts on somebody like him, or there's been assassination attempts against Hitler and stuff like that, trying to blow him
I
up.
understand that.
So
But like not against like it's like the death penalty argument.
it's hard because you have to draw a line between what's legal, what's moral, and what's more important. I mean, and that line can move though sometimes. If you pull that trigger and you go towards, well, we're going to assassinate this Hitler person, maybe you start seeing that it's also useful for people who aren't quite Hitler, but you don't like either.
Right.
So it's
But I
a
feel
sticky
like
issue.
if the whole thing was like if say it was now and Hitler was still around, I feel like he would get arrested and then he would have the death penalty either way. But like assassination, I don't think is correct. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's a tough thing. I mean the word, it's not even a native English word. We actually got that word from
France.
no, assassin is actually an Arabic. It's from an Arabic word.
Oh,
Um,
it kind of sounded Italian.
there used to be these Islamic monks. I forgot where they were, but they would smoke something called hashish, which is like super potent form of marijuana, and then they would go out and they would kill Christians in the middle of the night, and they would
Dude,
the word hashish became assassin.
oh my God.
Yeah, I forgot where that
You
was.
know where
Super high
sabotage comes from? The word
Christians.
sabotage?
No.
It comes from the ancient shoe that people used to wear called sabots. And they would like use these shoes to like, okay, hold up.
I think we'll do one more. We'll be done for today. Yeah, there's a form of French kickboxing called sabat. where they used to like wear wooden shoes and like kickbox each other
Yeah.
with them.
So
Yeah.
It's gotta hurt.
It probably did hurt.
Probably.
so
The sailors would do it. 'Cause the sailors wear these wooden shoes on their boats and stuff. So, and then they would practice kickboxing. So, French kickboxing. Yeah, go ahead. It's still around today. I can't think of anybody who like was a savant guy that held like a title in UFC. I'm sure there's someone out there, but
For labor disputes, which workers wearing wooden shoes called sabots interrupted production through different means. A popular but incorrect kind of a working term, present meaning, is the story that poor workers in France would throw a wooden sabot into the machines to disrupt production.
all right.
Yeah. It comes from the word, from the French word saboteur, which means to bungle, botch, wreck, or sabotage something. And was originally used to refer to labor disputes, which were workers wearing wooden shoes called sabots. It's pretty fun. Pretty fun, little bit of knowledge.
All right. You ready to move on to the next one? Last one of the day. Oh no, we're moving on to World War I already.
Wait, are we gonna start World War? Archduke Ferdinand? No,
Yeah.
no.
Hey, this seems like a good point for us to start up actually when we come back on Wednesday.
Yay.
I think we're going to end here for today because if we start talking about World War I, it's going to mess you up because like Wednesday, I want to kind of review. Friday, I want you to have your test. And then next week, I would like to really start talking about World War I. It seems like a good unit for us.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
More like
I have
Godzilla.
I have never actually like done research about the World Wars, and so like were they both having to do with like Hitler?
Chris, is that a weed? I'm calling the
Hitler
police.
was a soldier in World War I, but he wasn't a politician.
Oh, so like Hitler fought in World War One, but then he was like, "No, I'm gonna take over to go from World War II."
Kinda, yeah. He was very embarrassed that Germany lost,
Oh, until he wanted to like show everyone like who's boss.
but he wanted Germany to be very powerful. But yeah, he was self-centered. But a lot of Germans like that. They were tired of getting.
Yeah.
They felt humiliated.
Listen, I thought.
All right, kids, we're going to end the stream today. We're going to pick back up on Wednesday. We're going to do some review for our test on Friday. I'm going to post that up on Canvas. My goal is to have everyone do it on Canvas, not just you. So I'll talk to you later.
You can't erase that.
I mean, you can buy the whole app.